You know that persistent, nagging dry cough? The one that's just so frustrating? Well, what if the goal wasn't just to silence it? What if you could finally understand what your body is trying to tell you and then actually fix it for good? We're going to dive into how you can get relief and fast, sometimes in as little as 5 minutes.
Okay, so before we jump straight to the remedy, we have to kind of reframe the whole problem. A chronic dry cough, it isn't just an annoyance. Think of it more like a critical signal from your body. It's an alarm bell, really, telling you that something is out of balance. So our job right now is to figure out how to decode that signal.
Now, believe it or not, coughing itself is actually a good thing. Yeah, it's this powerful protective reflex that's designed to keep your airways clear of junk. But when it turns into that constant, dry, irritating cough, it means that defense mechanism is stuck in overdrive. And that points to a deeper issue that really needs our attention. So this is a crucial point. We have to know what we're actually dealing with. You know, a productive cough, one that brings up mucus, that's your body actively clearing something out. What we're focusing on today is the other kind, that dry, non-productive cough that just feels like a constant tickle in your throat. They have totally different causes and they need different solutions. All right, let's put on our detective hats for a minute and start uncovering the why behind that constant throat irritation. It turns out there are several key culprits we need to investigate.
One of the most common causes, you've probably heard of it, is postnasal drip. This is basically when mucus from your sinuses, whether it's from an allergy, a cold, or an infection, starts draining down the back of your throat. This constant dripping acts like a persistent little irritant, telling your body it needs to cough over and over again. But, you know, the irritation doesn't always come from above. Sometimes it comes from below. I'm talking about GERD, or acid reflux. With this, small amounts of stomach acid can actually travel up your esophagus and irritate the super delicate tissues of your throat and vocal cords. This can trigger a chronic cough, and you might notice it more after meals or when you're lying down. Now let's connect some dots that might surprise you. Asthma is a pretty well-known cause, sure, but research shows this really strong link between all sorts of respiratory issues and low vitamin D levels. This is especially true in the winter when we're not getting much sun, and it can lead to things like asthma or even croup in kids. And here's another factor. This one's from your environment. When the humidity inside your home drops below 30%, the air becomes incredibly dry, and this dry air can literally dehydrate the mucous membranes in your throat and your vocal cords, leaving them feeling raw, irritated, and just much more likely to trigger a cough.
And finally, there's a condition called a laryngospasm. The easiest way to think of it is like a sudden, involuntary cramp, or a Charlie horse, but in the muscles around your vocal cords. Now, what's really fascinating here is that the root cause is often low calcium. And what's the master regulator of calcium in our blood? You guessed it, vitamin D. See how it all starts to connect?
Okay, so now that we've decoded some of the potential causes, let's get to the good stuff, a powerful protocol for direct and immediate relief. Forget remedies that just mask the symptom. This is about targeting the irritation right at the source. The real key here is using a nebulizer. See, unlike a pill or a syrup that has to go all the way through your digestive system, a nebulizer turns a liquid solution into this super fine mist that you inhale directly. This delivery system is incredibly efficient because it completely bypasses digestion and sends that relief straight to the irritated tissues in your throat and lungs.
So how do you actually do it? It's really straightforward. You'll just need to gather a couple of things: some N-acetylcysteine powder, also known as NAC, and a little Epsom salt. Then you'll dissolve a 1/4 teaspoon of that NAC powder, along with just a tiny pinch of Epsom salt, into about 4 ounces of water. Here's a little tip. Use warm water to help it dissolve completely. Once that's all mixed, you just pour the solution into your nebulizer, turn it on, and breathe in that gentle mist for 5 minutes. Doing this once or twice a day can bring some incredibly effective relief.
But what's the science here? Why does this specific combination work so well? Well, NAC is a really potent antioxidant that directly targets and reduces inflammation right there in your respiratory tract. The Epsom salt delivers magnesium, which is basically nature's muscle relaxant. Remember that laryngospasm we talked about? The magnesium helps regulate calcium, which directly calms those twitchy nerves and muscle spasms in the throat, stopping that tickle right at its source.
So, getting immediate relief is fantastic, but the real goal here is to prevent the cough from ever coming back, right? So, let's build a long-term health blueprint for building up your respiratory resilience from the inside out.
A real cornerstone of this long-term strategy is going to be supplementing with vitamin D3, given its absolutely critical role in your immune function, calcium regulation, and overall respiratory health. A dosage of 20,000 IUs daily is often recommended to help correct deficiencies and really support your system.
But here's the thing, vitamin D3 doesn't work in a vacuum. It needs a support team to be truly effective. Think of it like this. Vitamin K2 is the traffic cop, making sure the calcium that D3 helps you absorb goes to your bones where it belongs, not your arteries. Magnesium is like the key in the ignition. Vitamin D can't even start its engine without it. And zinc is your frontline immune soldier, crucial for your respiratory defense. So you see, it's not just about taking one thing, it's about how they all work together in concert to create this powerful, synergistic shield for your body.
So as we start to wrap this up, let's just zoom out for a second and look at the bigger picture. This whole approach is really about shifting your perspective on what health is.
At the end of the day, true, lasting health doesn't come from just silencing symptoms with temporary fixes. It comes from having the curiosity to ask why, and then having the knowledge to address the root cause, which helps restore balance to your entire system.
And that really leaves us with a final thought to consider. We often look for external solutions to our internal problems. But after seeing these profound connections between key nutrients and how our body actually functions, it really makes you wonder, could the real long-term key to your respiratory health be found not in a medicine cabinet, but in your nutrition?